Zekken, under the big tree, sword to sword in ALO. Be there and be square. Asuna fans rejoice. This might have been one of the most badass episodes of Sword Art Online in recent memory. In fact, it might be my favorite episode of the entire series. I'm not even really that big of an Asuna fanboy, but I really loved that incredibly steel-grindingly kick-ass action scene where we finally got to see Asuna fight against Zekken. Not only that, but this fight actually leads directly into the next arc. It has a purpose other than just being a kick-ass action scene. But I also liked it because in the first half of the episode, we actually get some FaceTime with Asuna, which is something that we honestly have never really had. After the second half of the first season of Sword Art Online, she was basically a damsel in distress, and then in the first half of the second season, she was basically just relegated to being a side character. And now, we actually get to see what's really going on with this chick, and we also get to learn why her family life sucks, and that's because her mother is a stern bitch. Makes Chi-Chi look really nice in comparison. And her mother, in a sense, is trying to look out for the well-being of Asuna by trying to make her go to another school and to try to get into her marriage with this other weird, introverted, goofy guy with another rich family. It's really strange, and obviously it's kind of cliche in some senses, but the scene is very atmospheric, especially when she walks into this very, dark-looking dining room. It's just very disturbing and almost horror movie-like, and you almost expect, one of them to snap at each other at almost any second, and it never really happens until this one moment where Asuna is walking out of the dining room and tells her mother that she must have really hated her grandparents because they're in a poor family, and obviously she was digging pretty deep there because that pissed her mom off. We also get to the root of Asuna's self-loathing when she basically explains outright that she only considers herself strong when she's in the game world. In real life, she has no strength, thus why she's barely able to even confront her mother at all. But we all get away from that, we immediately go back to the ALO world, and we get ready to battle against Zekken, this big, badass, burly knight. Or is it? Something that's really interesting about this episode is that in the previous weeks, they changed up some stuff in the intro, and in this week's episode, they did it again. They added even more scenes of this brand new character by the name of Yuuki. Yuuki is actually Zekken, this cute little bubbly looking anime girl who also happens to be a badass because of her 11 hitting sword. But this all eventually leads up to the scene between Asuna and Yuuki, and holy crap, this is one of the best sword fights I've seen in a long time, and one of the best in all of Sword Art Online. It's really, really quick and fluid, and I just love all of the crazy camera angles they're using, and just the sparks flying off of the swords are great, and it's practically an even battle aside from that final hit which came from Yuuki, and that has to do with her sword. And basically, Asuna does lose, but at the same time, Yuki's really impressed by Asuna's skills, so she decides to take her away into the clouds, and then she begs for Asuna's help, and this is what's going to lead into the next arc. What does she need help for? It's kind of hard to tell because even though they give you a lot of really cool new imagery in the intro, which is basically just all the new characters who I'm assuming Yuuki is associated with and them fighting against this big monster, the intro is actually very similar to the last in that they basically switched out King Thrime with this brand new multi-headed monster. But I'm not complaining, it looks really awesome, it gets the blood pumping, and it gets you excited for what you're going to see in the episode. And it is kind of a shame that they spoiled that, though. I kind of wish after this episode they would have changed it, because I had no clue at all that Zekken was actually going to be female. But that intro basically just sort of gives it all away. And, Liz never explained whether Zekken was male or female either, and of course that pissed off Asuna. And there was, of course, that very funny scene where Asuna confronts Kirito and asks him, did you lose because Zekken was actually female? And she gives him this hilarious stare, which I actually thought was really great. So, good episode right here. What's the rundown on this week's episode of Sword Art Online 2? It was good. It was real good. I just loved the fact that they're finally starting to balance the characterization and the action scenes. And it's been a while since I've seen an action scene in the series that I've really, really liked. I think the last one was, Kirito versus Death Gun, their final battle in the desert. But this one was just really impressive. It brought me back to the days of the first season, and it was really high quality and well done. Whoever worked on it is just, damn, thumbs up, man. Kick-ass episode. The character of Yuuki is just, it's not as shocking because of the way they teased it in the intro. But I just can't wait to learn like what her whole deal is and what she needs Asuna's help for. And it is interesting that amongst the group, it's Asuna that she decided to go with instead of like someone like Kirito. And obviously this just shows that Asuna is still amazing. She's still got a lot of skill when she's in the game world. And I can't wait to see what this is going to lead into. It looks really interesting. Again, the only thing that is like a problem for me in this arc is the fact that there's not really like any danger for them being in the game. I guess the tension is really going to be coming from like what's been going on in Asuna's personal life with her mother. And that scene itself, like, it was very tense. And I was, like I said, I was expecting one of them to just explode at any second and just go crazy. And you're waiting for it. You're like, it's going to happen any second. She's going to flip out and start going crazy, and it never happens. And I don't know, I think that scene was just handled really well, and it just showed, like, the really cold side of her mother. And since it's the first time we saw her, it's definitely a very, like, bleak impression. And, you know, we've barely even seen anything of her father, so it's safe to say she doesn't really seem to have a very strong connection with her family, which, again, is very different with Kirito. They really are like the polar opposites of each other, and in a way, that is why they do connect. This was a great episode. Watch it for the Asuna scenes in the beginning and for that incredible action scene at the end. I'm going to go rewatch that a couple more times because it just kicks all sorts of ass. Good episode, great animation, great high-quality stuff, another fantastic episode of the series, and it's also one of the best episodes of Sword Art Online 2, in my opinion. So check it out, guys. Really great stuff. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. And please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Sword Art Online 2. What did you think of that big action scene? And what do you think the next arc is going to be all about? Remember, guys, if you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do that by clicking on the channel icon in the top of the video. You guys can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.